People don't actually talk about the bigger rat race. Some people think that once they have a business and they have certain amount of money, that they have exited the rat race and now they're better than everybody else. But actually, I see so many people in the business industry, entrepreneurs who have a lot of money, who are just in a bigger rat race. They're still in the rat race. It's just bigger. They just have more room to play around and they feel like they're free. But until you're actually happy now, regardless of what situation you're in, nothing externally can ever fill that void. The growth of your business and your bank account is only ever going to be equivalent to the growth that you have within.
Hey guys, I am with one of my most favorite people. We go we go way back, and I am so freaking thrilled to have her with me today because we're not just going to be talking about money on this channel. We're also going to be talking about how you guys make sure that you actually keep the money and you make more money. So Sarah, that's what she's called by most people. Sarah, my friend here, is a coach today. She's really been through a lot and she's been many things. She now coaches people who are high level, high functioning, high achieving entrepreneurs. I am um, so privileged to be one of the people she coaches. And she's also coaching like Pia Works Back and beauty queens and top models and really like people who are out there to make a difference in the world. So there, I am so happy to have you here. Welcome, welcome.
I am so thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me, Ange. That's weird, Ange. Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I can't quantify, Char, how proud I am of you as well. And like, just, yes, we go way back and just like remembering, just remembering our younger versions, our previous versions. And it's like how far we've both have grown. And I'm just really excited to be talking to your audience and sharing advocacies and my mission, my mission and the difference I want to make. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love it. Speaking of like audience, I feel like this is super important to bring to people because the people who are watching my videos, they want more out of life, and sometimes it's very easy to forget when you're just in the pursuit of like building an empire and making more money. That's like you need to grow personally too. So speaking of growth, why don't you take us to your very own journey of growth? Because that's like such an exciting story.
Wow. Okay. I don't know where to start. But before I go there, I just want to comment on what you just said. Like, um, the growth of your business and your bank account is only ever going to be equivalent to the growth that you have within. So you're right, it's super duper important that people actually focus on working on themselves internally so that they're not swimming against the current and trying to do things the hard way. I talk about this a lot, like the be, do, have model of like being in alignment first and the doing becomes easy and the having becomes a result, compared to what most people would do, where they're more occupied with waiting to have external validation, like, degrees, qualifications, certifications, a certain amount in their bank account for them to feel, for example, freedom or to feel secure, because that's what they're wanting to have. So this is my first example of going off tangent, obviously.
No, I love it. Go on, go on.
Right. So, but when you're in alignment with the being first, and you come from a place of already experiencing freedom within, then the doing becomes easier because it's in alignment and you don't even think about it, and it's almost like in a subconscious level. Just the doing becomes easy, and then the having, whatever it is that you want to have, becomes a result and not the main focus of living. Okay, so let's go back to your. Did you get that?
Yeah. But I wanna make a disclaimer that her path to getting here was not easy.
like a roller coaster. But I know that I came from a version of me who experienced like depression as a child as well. I realized that late in life that I was a depressed child, which is, I have a background in psychology, and so I learned to diagnose, right? I know how to actually clinically diagnose um, disorders, things I no longer come to agree with a lot of the psychological labels that we put on people, but like I would now understand that as a child I was clinically depressed. I would think about suicide. I would constantly be thinking about running away from home. I literally packed my bag. I know, like, oh my God, like I'm 6 or 7 and I have my bags packed, ready to leave the house. And I have memories where I try to like wake up in the middle of the night when everyone's asleep and try to go. And I've attempted it twice or thrice. And that's just crazy. When I became an adult and realized, oh my God, there's something that must have been really fucked up in my childhood there for me to be like in a depressed, unhappy state. And, one of the signs that you have a difficult childhood is when you don't have a lot of memories as a child. And I don't have a lot of memories. A lot of them are suppressed. And those that I remember make me think, make me worry. So there's so many things that I've experienced. I've come to I've come from, I talk about empowerment a lot, and I've come from a place of like having no identity, because I have a sister who's very strong as a woman and very dominant. Like her personality is very strong. She's very smart. She has a big heart, but in her love for me, she obviously was my sister. She wasn't supposed to be a mom, but she ended up taking care of me and raising me, and she was also a teenager, so she's also going through her own stuff, right? And in her attempt to protect me from the world, she became overprotective, and I lost my identity, and I became so dependent on her to the point that I wouldn't even know what to wear or whether I can accept a gift. Like I had no identity. I was under her shadow, and I couldn't make a decision. I was so dependent and I couldn't make a decision. I don't even know how to choose what to eat. I don't have favorites. I don't know my preferences. There's like just a gray area of who Sarah is. And when I was 18, I'm going to cut through everything else that has happened. Let's go straight to when I was 18. We had a big fight. I'm not going to go into the details because it's too much, it's too long. But then I made what I would label as my best mistake. And that is when I decided to run away from home. And when I did the whole running away, us Asians, we don't have the move out when you're 18 kind of culture, where the rest of the world kind of do. But for us, it doesn't exist. But when I was 18, we had a fight. And that was probably my sister, and my relationship with my sister is the most important relationship in my life as a family unit, because we're probably the only two really close individuals in the family. So as you can see, I grew up in quite a dysfunctional family. So many issues and dramas, but I know that I love my sister very much, and we were very close. And if you want to be a bit weird, like we are so close that we can almost communicate telepathically. Like, how you form a bond with someone and you just get what the other person is thinking and you don't even have to verbally communicate. We're that close. Anyway, so we had a fight, and then it came to a point when I felt like day by day, our relationship just kept on deteriorating, and it felt hopeless for me at that time. I felt hopeless, and I felt like there was no way for me to save the relationship. And if I'm going to stay with her, it felt like I wouldn't be able to rescue the relationship, and it felt like I needed to leave. So I did what I did. I ran away, sent her a text. Thank goodness phones exist already. Like, sent her a text and said, I'm going. Thank you for everything. Please don't find me, because I know she can find me if she wants to, right? But I moved to Davao. It wasn't too far, but just to add as a context, like I've been to 11 schools my whole life. We've moved a lot. We've moved like houses almost every year. And when I moved to Davao, I found my home. Kind of found my
Wow.
home. Yeah. And I stayed there for what would be ending up as 10 years. I'm no longer in Davao. Obviously, I'm in Australia right now. Whole different story. But I moved to Davao when I was 18. I was confident that I was smart. I know that if I try to find a job, I can pick up whatever it is and be good at it. And I'm not, I didn't grow up like in fancy, um, super pampered up living. No, I was actually exposed to a balance of like poverty and also somehow um, middle class kind of living, because both my parents were OFWs, and my father, who's also very poor with money, when he comes home, we live like a millionaire for a bit, and then we live the poor life for a bit.
Wow.
Very, very bad habit, really. But so I experienced both worlds, right? Um, so yeah, I went to Davao, and I was like, you know what? I can speak. I'm probably gonna be like employed in a call center or whatever. And if it doesn't work out, like if worst comes to worst, Jensen is just like 2 or 3 hours away, and I can probably swallow my pride and beg my sister to take me back.
Sorry, take me back.
Yeah, I know, right? So, and then yeah, that's probably one of my most depressed state in my life when I was 18, and I was alone, and I left when it was November, October, and I spent the first Christmas alone. It's not like I celebrate Christmas to begin with, but like just the people celebrating around you and you being alone in a different city and all that. There was a time when I couldn't eat. Like my body refuses to leave anymore, because and it's every time I tried to eat, I would just throw up, or just it would just go straight to the other end, and I would like just expel. And water is what kept me alive. I had no choice. I had to drink water, and um, by divine intervention, I met up an old professor of mine, and he was there for like cancer treatment, and he was doing acupuncture or something. I'm going into minute details in here. We're probably not going to have time, so feel free to just cut this off. But like he's tried everything, and he tried this acupuncturist, and he started seeing results, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And at that time I felt like I was about to die, because I literally am not eating anymore, not sleeping, and the work that that employed me at that time, we had a Christmas break. Not that I needed, but like I was new, so I qualified for the break, and I'm like, okay, fine. So I had like zero motivation to live, but something happened. I'm like, okay, let me try this acupuncture thing and force my body to start eating. And then I went to like some place called Grill. So like the edge of Davao. I had no idea this was really far. Found this acupuncturist in the middle of like nowhere. And it's like a tiny hut, but there's like a long line of like people traveling from all over Mindanao going to see this person. I'm like, oh, that's really impressive. And it's like when it was my turn, he like took my hand, pressed a bunch of stuff, and it's like, okay, what's wrong with your stomach? And I'm like, oh, how do you know? I'm like, there's something wrong with your stomach. I'm like, I don't know, I can't eat. It's like, okay, we'll deal with that, and then we'll deal with your heart. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with my heart. And then like 2 years after, I realized that I had something in my heart. So like it was really fascinating. I think that's one of my early encounters with alternative or more holistic healing, and not the Western kind of healing. Yeah. So why did we go there? Okay, so depression, blah blah blah. Yes, depression, blah blah blah, and then
We're here.
oh my god, such a long story. I think the biggest jump for me is when I quit my job in the BPO because of that heart thing. Okay, let me connect to that story. I got sick. I was finishing my studies and earning a degree in psychology. While working in the BPO, I got promoted as a trainer, and I was killing myself physically. I was a workaholic, and then and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job. Um, and then I found my passion, my other passion, which is into arts. Found makeup. It wasn't planned, but I followed what I wanted to do, which is creating art. And I had a friend who was also from the BPO industry. She started doing makeup. I'm like, that's really interesting. I think I can really do that. And she invited me to one of the photo shoots, did a hair, and I really enjoyed it. And then did another shoot, and then just accidentally worked with someone who was really famous. He is part of the Philippine Fashion Week. And he really liked my thing. And I'm like, this is my first time doing it. And you like it? That's great. Yeah, that's a good sign. And I have, going back to the be do have thing, like if I at that time said to myself, I need to have all the professional makeup first, I need to have the certifications first, I need to have this school or whatever for me to be a professional artist, I probably would not have done it, right? But at that
Like
time, I was like,
I admired about you so much. Just so
yeah,
people know it. When Sarah wants to decide she wants to be someone else, she is not like, I need this course, I need this coach. Like, no, she just like goes
yeah,
and does. Love.
exactly. I'm like, it's all a matter of decision. And I'm like, I decided at that time, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do this. And so when you embody who you want to be, you then start thinking as that person. And you're like, okay, well, what would a professional makeup artist be doing? I would be super obsessed with the output of my work. And that's what I've always been, to be fair. But so I was like, everything that I do, is my heart is just really in it. And like I've not had a client who's ever complained. But like even without any trainings, even without any, when I started, obviously I didn't have all the professional tools, right? Everyone just ended up liking my work. And I started working with other photographers, and it naturally became a thing, and to the point that people just started referring, and I'm like, my things are running out, I need to start charging money. And then it became a career, and it's helped me graduate. It's helped me finish my school. I built a name, built a studio. It took some time, right? It took like 7 or 8 years,
Wow.
between 6 to 8 years for me to come to a point where I have like a solid following of like people raving about the type of work that I do, the quality of work that I do. And I would just never run out. If I want to open my time for clients, it just gets filled instantly. And then I started, having the freedom to choose when I want to work and when I don't want to work. But oh my God. Okay, so now going back, that's I think when I also started searching for something deeper. Um, I've always been into personal development. Psychology is an influence of my sister as well. So I have already been learning theories and all that, even though I wasn't in college yet, because my sister loves sharing and I ask a lot of questions. I'm naturally curious. So I have already been exposed there. I've already been exposed to NLP even before it was a thing, even before people started using it in the coaching industry. My sister already brought a book of NLP therapy, used in therapy. So I know, and I asked my teachers about it. They have no idea what it is. Like, okay,
What? Crazy.
because it was, at that time when I was studying, when I was like in first year college, it wasn't actually a known thing. It was like very fresh, and so people would, some of the instructors that I had, they didn't even have the advanced kind of updated version of what they're teaching, and so they would not. It's not going to be part of the curriculum, so they don't know about it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then I would start talking about it, and they were like, what are you talking about? But anyway, NLP. That's what we started NLP. NLP has been something that I've been interested in for a long time, even before it was a thing. Um, so I've always been interested in the mind and in how people develop and grow. And I think part of my interest comes from my dysfunctional family. Trying to understand how people think, what is wrong with people? How can I help them? How can I fix me and fix them? And it's grown. I think the biggest shift is when I joined Oh, I love this. If you guys are going to listen to this, hi. So I joined a family. It's called Tamis. It's a group that meets every Tuesday in Davao. We study A Course in Miracles. And the first session that I went to, it was just like, oh my God, I found a bunch of weirdos like me. This is amazing. Like all of the odd group of people like working on their themselves and on spirituality. And I'm like, this is my home. I felt really at home. And then I just kept on
Yeah,
going.
you really sucked at like commitments, but when
Thank
you
you.
being no, that's just an observation. It's like when it's a commitment, you like lose interest in it, but when it's something that your heart is called to, it's like Sarah makes it no
Oh
matter
yeah,
what.
100%. And sometimes the problem is that I'm committed to too much. Like my interest is so wide that I don't know where to start. But you're right. Um, because every no is a yes. Like saying no to this, that means I'm saying yes to something else that I probably prefer more. So you're right. It's a pretty good observation actually. So I just kept on going and I just like I saw the growth in me and something in me has awakened. And together with that, I started my business and shifted from a sole trader to a business owner. And I believe in my heart, to the very core of my heart, that business is one of the best ways to grow spiritually.
Yeah.
I kid you not, having a business, trying to run a business, just especially if you're a startup and you start employing people, because I know that there has been like a lot of bad practices that I'm doing as a sole trader. I have been undervaluing myself. I'm okay with overworking. I'm okay with being underpaid. I'm okay with not resting. All those bad habits that I allow myself to do. But when I started running a business and I have staff to take care of, I'm like, no, I can't. I can't overwork my staff. No, I can't underpay my staff. And I no longer stop. I stopped giving discounts so much and all that because I now have people that I wanna be paid like with equal value of exchange. That's another concept that I love.
How did that shifting from sole trader to a business owner help you with like what you do now with coaching
Oh
people?
my God, so much. I think learning just learning to really love my staff, my team. I love them so much, even up to now. I love them so much. We're close, and whole different story about Beauty Express, but um I know that, and this goes out to every business owner, like if you love your company, your staff, they will take care of the client. You don't put, because when I was a sole trader, I put my clients first before me. When I became a business owner, I put my staff first before the clients. And that's the secret. That's how you build a team. That's how you build a family. Because you cannot fake the care. You cannot say care for the customer if they don't feel that you care for them. Right?
Wow.
And that's, I think, how you become a true leader. You lead by example. And the best example is the way you engage with your team. I always make sure that they feel heard. I prioritized personal development for them, which is interesting. I mean, I think it's been coming. I told you I was promoted in the BPO as a trainer, so I was already in the coaching kind of space. I found real fulfillment in helping people like raise their sales or improve their performance. It was really fulfilling. So I think I have always been in that coaching space for a while now, and friends come to me all the time. As you know, as you know,
I came to you and I was like literally like heartbroken.
yeah, I know, right? I think it's been darker. Sorry, is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
So friends have been coming to me all the time anyway, and I think it's because I'm very generous in like just sharing knowledge in general. Like if there's wisdom that I can share, I love just helping people out with what I know. So it's been natural, and I wasn't paid for it. But okay, so becoming a business owner has completely changed the way I look at self-love. It's so interesting. Um, I started valuing the people that I have under me in more ways that I valued myself. And it was a good contrast of how much I've not been loving myself. And I had the excuse that I love what I was doing. I was doing something I'm passionate about, but I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't sleeping properly. I overworked myself a lot. I wasn't even charging the right amount for my skills and for my products. So, and having that contrast exposed by running a business and seeing how my staff or my team works and how much I want to give back to them, it's a good picture. It painted a good picture of how much I was lacking in my own self-love. Yeah.
Do you think people are on that like lack mindset where they lack this, they lack that? How have you seen that manifest, like with the people you've worked with and with observation in general?
That's a really good question. I love that. And yes, unfortunately, a lot of people are in the lack, or for easier or a wider understanding, on a fear mentality. And here's the thing. It's not totally a bad thing. At a certain point in time when we were still evolving as apes, primitive creatures, fear is what kept us alive. Because if fear is the urge to continue surviving, and so if you fear things that are threatening, then you have better chances of surviving. So if you compare two apes, one was fearful of, I don't know, a deadly snake, and one was not fearful of a deadly snake, who would survive if there was a deadly snake, right? So genetically, we have evolved as creatures who have an intrinsic relationship with fear, right? And to a certain extent, it has helped us come from a place of primitive consciousness and evolve into where we are right now as a species, as human beings with consciousness and our advancement in technology and culture and all those things. But then it's only a problem, and I say this about beliefs as well. It only becomes a problem when it limits you and no longer pushes you, like a gate. If you're a toddler and you have a gate around your house and you're playing outside, the gate is there to protect you so you don't crawl out and get hit by a bus or a car, right? So it's protective. The gate is protective. That's like the fear. It's protective at first. But when you grow up, when you're 5, 6, 7, and you can't unlock the gate, you're going to be stuck there forever. And you're not going to be living the fullest of your life. You're not going to enjoy the world because you're stuck on that gate of fear. So for like a limitation. Yeah.
For a high level, high functioning person who like is out there to conquer the world and like make a difference and make an impact and like leave a legacy, how do you see them having fear as an obstacle, like as a trigger that limits them?
How do I best answer that? It's different for each person, you see. And there are two most common fears: fear of rejection, and actually not two, probably three: fear of rejection, fear of not looking good, and fear of not being right. Those three things. And it's a common thing with our egos. Our egos don't like those three things as well. So when you're operating from a place of like, okay, I'll give an example. If you want to make an impact, first, before making an impact, you want to be a successful business owner, and you want to have a certain amount of money. For simplicity's sake, let's say you want to be a millionaire. Everyone who wants to be a millionaire also does not want to be poor. And we're going to start talking about duality now, but I'm going to try to just ease it up. So everything has two sides, right? So the deciding factor in the results that you get, in the satisfaction that you feel, no matter what you're doing in life, is the energy or the emotions that fuel your actions. If someone who is obsessed about succeeding and wanting to be a millionaire is actually, in reality, so afraid of failing, so afraid of being poor, so afraid of being rejected or not looking good or not achieving their goals, what kind of energy do you think that person is actually sending out? It's from fear. It's from scarcity. It's from lack, right? So there's a big difference. And it takes a skill to kind of master and understand what energy you're coming from. And surprise, surprise, we actually have a built-in compass, a built-in like measuring system, and that's our emotions. If you feel inspired and happy doing what you want, you're probably operating from a place of love and abundance and like just excitement. But if there's too much stress and when you're burnt out, keyword burnt out, if there's a consistent, regular schedule of you feeling burnt out, you're probably not operating from the right energy, coming from the right emotion.
So right? Common. High achievers.
Yes. And again, there's so many things I can like try to explain this. A lot of people grow up with conditional love. A lot of people grow up with standards that they have to live up to. And they start to learn how to perform. They start to learn how to meet other people's standards so that they can feel loved, so that they can get the validation from the parents or the peers or the teachers, so that they don't get ridiculed by classmates. You know how our educational system has contributed to this so much when we have like rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, whatever, and how it becomes a competition against others and not a competition and an intrinsic motivation to improve continuously and be better. Be better than your version of yourself yesterday. It has to be like external. It's not, you know, it's not the best way to motivate kids or individuals in general. So when we learn as we grow up that we have to be blah 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 to feel love, to be accepted, we start to take in those conditions for ourselves, and then we start to overachieve because the conditions that previously were external, we have taken it in and now it's internal. We've internalized it. And now, unless I succeed, I'm not worthy. Unless I have this money, I'm not enough. Unless blah, 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 I'm not, I don't know, I don't deserve love.
So that becomes then like, it's like this conditional thing where it's like, it has to be met, or there's something inside me that, as you would put it, like feels triggered, like if unless this is met, then I'm not gonna feel like I'm good enough or something.
Yep.
And you get triggered as a person, and there's like this feeling of unworthiness. You trigger like feelings of inadequacy and scarcity. Like, is that
yes, again, yes, inadequacy or feeling that you're not enough or that you're not successful enough or you don't deserve to celebrate your small wins. And there was something I really wanted to add. I'm sorry. I'll remember it. That's fine. I forgot what it is, but I'll try to remember it. Can you say what you said again?
There's this, unless I meet this condition.
Yeah. Yeah, so from the intrinsic and extrinsic validation, that's what I want to talk about. Everything becomes extrinsic and you try chasing that void externally by trying to stack up all your goals and going after them. But I kid you not, you can probably look around people who are into business or who's trying to achieve something in life and count how many people are burnt out, are not actually happy. Not, you know, that famous line from, I think, Jim Carrey or something, I wish everyone can be rich and famous so that they know that it's not the secret to happiness. It's like it's sa pull sa heart. It's like yes, so true. Because if you're not happy now, and this is controversial. If you're not happy now in whatever situation you're in, if you cannot find it in your heart to be to feel gratitude or to feel thankful, no matter what you have, you cannot be happy and thankful.
So true. It's like last night, I didn't really sleep well last night because I was like watching this Paris Hilton like documentary, like This Is Paris, and she's like, everyone thinks she's just dumb, blonde. She's a bimbo, but she's like really freaking intellectual. Like she's Aquarius, just like you. And she was like in the documentary, from the outside, it seemed like she had everything. It's like she's perfect, but really, like when at the end of the day, she's like, I just want to make $1 billion, and then what? And then I'll have my peace of mind, and then what? And then I'll be happy, because her main thing was, I'm gonna do everything in my power to be so successful. My parents can't control me anymore. So she's like operating that. So it's like when she was a teenager, it was like making $100 million, and then now it's like 15 years of her just going and going and going, and it's like $1 billion. So how do we like stop? Like for high achievers, like it's so addictive. Just like
Yeah.
you hit that goal, and then now you want to make the next goal. Like for me, when I hit my first million, I'm like, now I need to make my first million in US dollars. Like how do we
Exactly. I
how
was thinking about that. Thank
how do
you.
we
You cut off. What was that?
how do we catch ourselves and stop going on that like
Yeah.
race? It's
Yeah.
like this hamster
So
wheel.
I was gonna say that. So, you probably read Robert Kiyosaki, right? And the idea of exiting the rat race. So people in that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, there's a term called exiting the rat race, which means resigning from your 9 to 5 job, right, and having a business and having a passive income. But then people don't really talk about exactly. People don't actually talk about the bigger rat race.
Yeah.
So some people think that once they have a business and they have a certain amount of money, that they have exited the rat race and now they're better than everybody else. But actually, I see so many people in the business industry, entrepreneurs who have a lot of money, who are just in a bigger rat race. They're still in the rat race. It's just bigger. They just have more room to play around and they feel like they're free. But until you're actually happy now, regardless of what situation you're in, nothing externally can ever fill that void that you're trying to fill, that you're trying to feel or run away from. And the secret for me is seriously, self-love, self-validation, healing your wounds, and removing all the conditions that we've put for ourselves to fully love and accept ourselves.
So how do we do that? Like for high
How do you do
achievers,
that? Yeah.
how do we, love ourselves? How do we like stop needing that? How do we self-validate? Like how do we become happy now so we don't need like we're gonna be happy when we make this, or when we
Yeah.
have this bank account, or when we have like a Porsche or a Lamborghini, these
It's
external things.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. It's a lot of work, but you're an achiever. If you're listening to this, you're probably an achiever as well. So you know already for a fact that whatever you set your mind to, you're gonna make it happen. So you're already halfway there. Once you start committing to actually working on yourself internally, you're already halfway there. Good job. You now realize that you can't just be working to have external validation forever, that you actually have to turn around and put your focus on yourself. There's a couple of, if you want to be technical, there's a couple of techniques that I would love to talk about. I don't think we're going to have enough time, but there's the concept of reparenting yourself. There's the concept of shadow work. There's the concept of just practicing mindfulness habits, meditation. I actually have an ebook, guys. If you go to, just let me let it out there right now. My website is sarahsuyom.com, and it's a /5ME. And that stands for Mindfulness Essentials. So there are like super simple strategies and techniques or skills that you can start to learn. That's not going to be like crazy in your investment of time, because I know that time is very valuable for high achievers. And it's just a few things that you can start integrating in your life, and it's all about self-inquiry, meditation, just a good, easy journaling habit, belief mapping, and it's all about getting to know yourself. It's really about getting to know yourself. And once you know yourself, you will know what will really make you happy. A lot of people do not know themselves. That's a fact. They don't know.
Yeah, Paris Hilton said that, like, sometimes I don't know who I am.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know their triggers and don't know when they are activated.
Yeah. So how do we, like, what does it look like when, when we don't need the external validation, just so people have an idea that this is actually
Oh,
something that they
yeah.
would want, would
This,
need, or that would help them?
yeah, this is gonna sound really like weird and somehow even difficult to connect to, but it just feels like you're on a constant high. You're just happy. People forget that their natural state is joy. And then someone, if they see someone who's happy, they would ask a person, "Why are you happy?" And then but in reality, the happy person should be asking, "Why are you not happy?" to the person who's not happy. Did you get that? Like, if you ask me, "Why are you happy, Sarah? Why are you happy all the time?" I'm just gonna
Yeah,
tell you, "Why are
not
you
an
not
ab-
happy all the time?" Because our natural state is joy. We're supposed to be happy. If you see a baby, they're just happy for no reason. They're just gonna giggle for no reason. You don't need a reason to be happy. But because we grow up in a world, in a society where there's too many demands, there's a whole story around you not being enough and you needing this and that, to promote buying and consumerism and all that, telling you what you don't have and what you lack and why you need this to be happy. We start to learn that we're not supposed to be happy. When we start to learn that our natural state is stressed or not happy or not content. But our natural state is happy. And people that I've worked with, this is a very common response when asked, what's the difference after working with me? And I've heard it said in different ways, but it's the same theme. There's a constant feeling of lightness and peace and happiness that's just there, not even needing a reason to be happy. And when you're in that state, nothing can disturb your peace. The world can burn and you will not freak out. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but things and triggers and situations like COVID, business, whatever, like external situations can change, but then your internal state do not depend on the external situations.
So how do you get to that point, or when you're at that point, it's like, why how does that help you as a business owner, like as someone
First,
who
how
tries?
do you get to that point? As I've said, get to know yourself. And when you get to know yourself, you get to know the conditionings and programmings that you've been running in your mind unconsciously. These are things that manipulate you, that control you, that you don't even know about. And most of the time, they are wounds and traumas in your childhood that you grew up with, and that inner child is controlling you. So that's one. What was the second question?
How does it help you
How does it help you
when you're in that state?
here in
How
that?
does it help you in your everyday life?
Life is easy. Life is so freaking easy. You become, oh my God. And we can talk about this in like a very spiritual way, but also in a scientific way, a psychological way. If you're positive, you see more positives in life. If you're always at peace, you just are more functional. If you're stressed all the time, your IQ is actually like less than half of its full potential. If you're in that stressed survival state, if you're not in the creative, the sympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system or states of your nervous system, if you're in a stressed fight or flight state, your goal is to survive. Your goal is to your sight is short. You become short-sighted, and you just see the things for what they are physically. You don't see the full story. Does that make sense? Because your goal is to run away from a physical threat because you're stressed. And I'm talking about, when we were evolving again as primates, or when we're on a fight or flight state, or freeze, fight, flight, or freeze state, we're not really thinking about our goals. We're not imagining our future. We're not planning. We're not problem solving. All we want is to survive in that moment. And if you are listening right now, can you tell me one good decision you've made when you were stressed and when you were trying to survive? Probably not the best decisions. And yeah, like it's your prefrontal cortex just freezes when you're stressed. So you stop thinking logically and you start operating emotionally in the amygdala, that lizard brain part. So are you still with me? Am I
Yeah. That's
technical?
totally,
So when you are, yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, but then when you are able to self-regulate, when you are able to keep your internal peace intact, regardless of what happens around you, you can continue making really good decisions. You can see solutions that may not be obvious to other people because you
And
can. Mhm.
how about like in relationships and like in business? How is that like on a day to day? It's like before I was this and now I'm this. Like how? What's the clear picture?
Are you talking about me or my clients' examples?
I want like the examples you have. I want to hear them. I'm sure people want to hear them too.
Let me have a second to think about that. Oh, okay. Well, usually before I started working on myself, I just usually block people out. I do the flight response, which explains the running away, right? I do the flight response, and I just cut people off. No second chances, just block, goodbye, you're done. And obviously that's bad for relationships. And you can't talk to me for days and I wouldn't be functional. I'm just dysfunctional. I'm just like triggered and just sad. And obviously you're not going to be able to like make good life decisions or business decisions if you're in that state. Your business is going to be affected, right? And after working on myself, I can now like deal with pretty much anything actually that happens in my life. I feel so supported by myself. And I feel like no matter what happens, right now there's COVID. I'm in Australia. I'm living alone. My business in the Philippines is gonna be like closed and taken away from me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah,
Your first baby, dang.
my baby. Yeah, my baby. So that's happening. And I'm still okay. And I can still like kind of lighthouse myself. Do you get that term? I can still be a lighthouse to myself and just hold space. And that feels really good. It's really satisfying. It's like you don't need you're not craving validation from others or support from others. It's good to have support from others, just to clarify that. It's really healthy to have a healthy support system, to have friends, family that you can talk to, because we're still social creatures. But it can only complement, not replace, the support that you give yourself. Yeah. So
You said that life is gonna be easy, right? Like when you work on yourself and when you do the work you need to do, life is gonna be easy. But like how does that when you do that work, like for example for me, because I want to know like what comes after, is it always gonna be like, oh, I'm triggerless, la la la
no,
la? Is it
oh God, no. Oh God. Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you for pointing that out. No, because there will always be deeper layers to yourself. That's why the page that I created is called Becoming Triggerless, not Be Triggerless, because there's no actual one place ending to it. It's a
like
continuous
chapter
process of
one?
becoming. Hmm?
I love that nuance. It's
Yeah.
like so subtle, but it's like,
Yeah, it's a constant becoming. It's a journey. It's not the destination. It is the journey of becoming that person. And a lot of people think that, like, I no longer feel emotions. I'm like, no. In fact, I feel them even more. And I used to not be angry. I used to not know how to be angry because I just push it down. But then I created a monster of angry shadow in here because everything that made me angry, I just threw at my back, threw to the back, and I'm like, I don't look at them, the things that make me angry. And I realized that I did not know how to get angry. But you know how anger is actually misunderstood by a lot of people? Anger is actually a really good fuel to
yeah,
help you make changes in your life, to help you set a boundary, to help you improve an area or anything about yourself. So when I saw that I wasn't actually feeling angry, I realized I also wasn't allowing myself to feel happy, because it's kind of like, you know, if this is the center and this is angry and happy, you I okay, I hope this makes sense. I push, this is angry and this is happy. If I push this down, this other side also comes down. And so, you know how you can only go as high as you go down when you bounce a ball really hard and it goes really, really down, like really low and really strongly pushed into the ground, then it will bounce really high up. So it's the same way, because I'm not allowing myself to feel the depths of my anger and other unpleasant emotions, or those who the usual emotions that we push down. I'm also not allowing myself to be really happy, to be really joyful, to feel really calm, and all those other beautiful emotions that we can feel. I've shielded myself, my heart, to actually feeling emotions. And now, no, becoming triggerless doesn't mean that you're not feeling any emotions. It actually means you're feeling emotions more, but it doesn't overwhelm you. You can
there's
dance your emotions. Mm-hmm.
there's something very transformative around that, right? Because, for example, for the business world, it's like I have this friend, and we were talking about, hey, like, aren't you scared that like we had quote unquote success
Mm-hmm.
young, and when we
Yeah.
fail, it's gonna be like rock freaking bottom. And he's like, I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm not gonna let that happen. But like with what you said, this is just like one spectrum. If like for me, at least now, how I'm choosing to think about it is like the lowest I can go is also the highest I could come back up
Amen.
and rock it back up.
Amen. You said it really well. I'm not sure if you can see me. My laptop is blocking my light. Okay, there you go.
Yep.
Yes. So, yep, 100%. And people who refuse to be sad, they actually also don't allow themselves to be really happy. Yeah.
What's the biggest transformation you've seen like in other people when they do the work?
Oh my God. Ah, that is crazy. I I'll just talk about myself just because it's easier. For me, I used to be someone who processed things in years. Like something would happen, and it would take me 2, 3, 4 years to realize the lesson from that moment, from that experience. And I would
Wow.
live 2, 3, 4, 5 years holding on to that grudge and holding on to the resentment and anger and all the reactivating the emotions, the negative emotions continuously until I get the point. And that has
Do, do
shrunk.
you see like pattern, like for example, if you're in bad relationships, like you get in another bad relationship
Oh
because
yeah,
it's life is telling you, yo.
100%. I talk about that all the time. If you did not learn that lesson from that person, you're going to find another teacher to give you the same lesson because you still haven't gotten it. And if you've been cheated on, and I'm sorry, this is not victim blaming, if you've been cheated on in the last 5 relationships that you've had, the common denominator is you, not the people.
Yeah.
Like when you ask yourself, you constantly reflect, what am I contributing to this dynamic, and what am I bringing to the table? Why am I attracting people like this, and why do I keep on putting myself in situations like this? And I think, okay, I really want to I want to finish my example, and then I want to talk about the victim mentality, because that's a big thing that I have seen people go through and transform into a victor versus the victim when they start working on themselves. So it's a very empowering place.
Very quickly, I want people to know that like the actual reason why I'm working with this brilliant girl right here is I don't want to repeat like my patterns and my cycles. And like as someone who's like very driven and very goal oriented, I also want to have a freaking family. And so like the timeline, my biological clock, I mean, of course I could freeze my eggs, but my biological clock is freaking ticking. And I would literally just like save my time and make sure I learn the lessons when I need to learn them.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. And I am really, really proud of you for like really focusing on your own, sorry for the word, shit. You can bleep that if you want. For it. Yeah. So I want to finish my example. For someone who spent years to realize a lesson and to cool off and release and forgive people and just feel the emotions, I have managed to shrink that. You know, when you get that aha and that lesson from an experience, I've managed to shrink that from years to months to weeks to hours. And now the thing doesn't have to happen for me to realize the lesson.
Wow.
Does that make sense? Like, and because you become so mindful and so aware, so self-aware, that you know that you have choices, and you can see the old patterns here and the new choice that you have here, and you realize I don't always have to be on the default response. I can actually choose this other response, and I know that if I do this, this is what's going to happen. If I do this, this is what's going to happen, and I have the choice to respond in this way differently than how I would usually respond. And so now you become this person who's just like limitless. You're limitless because you're no longer bound by your old conditioning, your old programming. And yeah, it became that years, months, weeks, hours to instantaneous realizations, and then before the thing even starts happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's being proactive. And
Yeah.
I really want to like drive home to like people who really care about, being a better version of themselves. It's like when you told me, the five, what's it called? Like the five thingies we were like
Five
energetic,
aspects of self. Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's not just enough for you to have money. It's like if you have money, and this was for me, it's like fucking scared me. And this, it's like somebody told me when I was like at 17, didn't have any direction in life, and like didn't even have my munchkins, didn't know I was gonna be good at business. Somebody told me, and he was very intuitive and psychic too, was, and you're gonna be very successful. It's like you're gonna have all the success you want, but you're gonna come home to an empty house. And I'm just like, what do you mean I'm gonna be successful? I don't even have my shit together. I'm like freaking 17. And that really scared me. So, like being able to integrate and have all these five things together is pretty much why this work matters. So like I'm curious, Sarah, like what would you say to, like, for example, my dad? He's a skeptic. He's like, you don't really need those things. These things are like freaking bullshit. It's like, what would you say to a skeptic?
Give me a sec. I will answer that. Just checking that I'm not canceling anything. Okay, good. Sure. What would I say to a skeptic? What are they skeptic about? Working
Like
on
why
themselves?
they need to do their work and why they need to look at their own shit.
Because the whole world is a mirror, and everything that you hope to achieve externally can only be achieved when you match your own self-worth internally and feel like you deserve it. Okay, let me rephrase that. The whole world is a mirror, and you can only have satisfying relationships with others if you have a satisfying relationship with yourself. You can only have really deep, fulfilling happiness that is found on your achievements if you can be happy and feel fulfilled even without them. Does that make sense? It's a bit fluffy, but I hopefully you're getting what I'm getting at. Nothing external can exist if it did not match your internal,
your vibe.
Vibration, your internal vibration. Because you're only ever experiencing your own mind. And if you have a mind that suffers, no matter what external situation you have, what accomplishments you have, you will be suffering.
Yeah.
Because suffering is in the mind.
It's like
Yeah.
There's this quote that says, like, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, I like that. Like a really famous guy who made this whole thing kind of mainstream is Viktor Frankl, and how he has been able to find purpose while he's in prison, while he's in a prison camp. You know Viktor Frankl?
Yeah.
So that's a fact that whatever your situation is externally, and I'm talking about no matter how successful you become, if you are suffering in your mind, if you're unhappy, and if you're running through unconscious patterns, it's never going to be enough. There's never going to be enough. You're going to burn out, and you're just going to, like, as you said, come to an empty house, sad, and die old and grumpy.
All right, we're down to our last two questions. What is Sarah doing to grow herself today?
Ooh, oh my God. I don't know. I have like 5 courses that I'm studying. I am, as I've said, I am obsessed with growth. That is my purpose. And I continuously just study and perfect my craft, whatever craft that is. And right now that's in helping people heal themselves, helping people have clarity in their direction and find alignment with their purpose and live more fulfilling lives, empowering people most especially. I said I wanted to talk about moving people from the victim mentality to the victor mentality. And it's when you start accepting that you are responsible for your life and for the results that you get, that's when you actually start living. A lot of people don't do that because they're afraid of getting blamed. They don't want to be accountable for their results. And it's easier to blame the government. It's easier to blame COVID. It's easier to blame the dog or whoever you want to blame.
Your husband, it's easier to blame your ex-husband.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever it is, right? It's so easy to blame others that is outside of you. But unless you take responsibility for everything in your life, including your finances, your growth, your relationships, your health, your body, like even if you're born with a disorder or a genetic disease, I tell you, there are so many people who don't have limbs and are successful. It's not a fucking excuse. Until you claim that power back and know that you're responsible for yourself, you're always going to be in the victim mentality. So move away from that and go into the victor mentality and understand that all of your actions will have consequences or deliver good results. And that's where you really start realizing that the choices you make matter. What was that?
Do you think, like, right now, because you have like so many interests and you're living so many different lifestyles or lifetimes, it's super interesting to watch. Do you think like your purpose would change like in the future, or you'd be doing something anytime soon?
I really love that question, Angela. Also because I have quite an interesting perspective around purpose. People think that you find a purpose. There's no such thing, actually. You make your purpose. You choose your purpose and you make it. And that's a bit ironic because when I was doing the whole makeup thing, I thought that was my purpose, my passion. I was getting paid for it. I was really good at it. I was making a lot of people happy. But when I started the whole coaching healing industry, when I embraced that industry and started helping people out, it's more like a surrender. It actually felt more like a surrender. So I'm a bit I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but then people think that there has to be that one thing that they find or what, but actually no, because even when I was doing makeup, that was my purpose at that time, and I was really happy and content. And so your purpose is what you make it to be. You choose one. You get to make your own purpose. As long as your intentions are clear and pure and your heart is in what you do, that is your purpose.
I love that. I love that because it doesn't like tie you down to just no. You need to do one thing and one thing for the rest of your
No, no. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure since we are always evolving, our consciousness, the culture, the society, everything is evolving. Like, of course, you will have different purposes. I think it's very natural. Yeah.
So I want you to complete this sentence. But before that,
I love you.
I want people to check out Sarah's group. She has a free group where she's really teaching people for free, giving you the tools that you need to implement this yourself. If you are at a place and time where you have other priorities right now and you're just at that point and you're not ready to work with her yet. Sarah, you want to tell us about your group, what you're doing, where people can find you, if they want to join your program, what they can do?
Okay, so two ways to do that is to follow my page. It's Becoming Triggerless in Facebook, and in Instagram, it's Triggerless Life. And you can join Self-Work Movement. That is the group that I kind of mentor for free, because when the pandemic started, I felt the energy of the world shift. And I just felt that I have to do something about it, because I know how to help people and I know what can help people and I can help them heal. So I started a group, and it started with a bunch of friends. It started growing, and now it's still growing. Go there. Everything that you need, I literally give it away for free. Like tools, frameworks, practical techniques, like structured, scripted things that you can, and I know you know what I mean, like real tangible structures and frameworks that you can instantly apply in your life to create tangible changes and improvements in yourself, in your values, in your patterns, in your behavior, in your self-inquiry, in your self-awareness, all those things that is in alignment with my goal of making mindfulness mainstream and personal development the lifestyle for majority of the people in the world. That's my kind of like big hairy ass goal, to make mindfulness mainstream and connect the kind of fulfilling spiritual world with people who are really business oriented and very much in the 3D material world. And if you think about it, it's actually just the masculine and feminine energy kind of meeting in between, like the fluid kind of fluffy energy in here and the really structured energy in here, and finding that balance within. So self-work movement, say hi. You're gonna get to know a very different version of Sarah there, where I really literally just really don't care about how I look and what I say. Everything that I say there, it's very raw. I usually go live there and just download messages that I get, inspirations that I get, realizations, and I just share it out there. If you want to stick to like a more polished content, you can just follow my page.
How about like for people who have already like told the spiral about, like, can you give them a short intro on what that is?
Oh my God, that's going to be a long story, but let me try.
What the spiral is, like what they can expect, all these things.
Thanks for pointing that out. So the spiral is an intensive deep dive, and it's a journey of going internally, healing wounds of the past, and moving from how would I say this? Moving from wounded version of you to an empowered version of you, and finding alignment in your life and welcoming more fulfillment in your life. So it's it's a 2 to 3 month process or journey with me. It's very intimate. I don't talk about it a lot because it's a very intimate process, and I'm quite choosy with who I work with.
Very picky.
Yeah, and you know that I'm quite picky because it's not for everyone. I will not work with someone who's not ready to actually implement and welcome the changes that they need in their lives. And unfortunately, not everyone is ready for change. Not everyone is ready to just, yep, let's do this shit. I want to work through things. Let's just get this over with. Not everyone is like that. And because the process is intensive, I get personally involved, energetically and physically involved, sometimes to the point that I get sick when the person is not fully doing the work because I get to do the heavy lifting. So I'm very choosy, and there's an application process if you want to go through that journey with me. But I have had so many touching stories of, you know, the results that we accomplish in working with me in the spiral. One of my favorite one is Rob's journey, and he just released a testimonial video. I'm gonna put that on my website actually. And he's been working on a book for a couple of years. He's been stuck, and just after, even before the spiral journey is finished, he's done the book. Like, and that's 2 months compared to like 2 years of like trying to get it all sorted out. And there's a lot of things underneath that. It's not just about writing the book. It's about self-sabotage. It's about being afraid of being seen, being afraid of being successful. It's his money stories, and he's talked about this in his testimonials. I would love to link that down if you are willing to put that down. Like, put it probably just
really.
on my website. Yeah. So if you are curious to find out more about the spiral, I'm happy to talk more about that. If you feel, a lot of people don't understand what it is because it's so different for every person that goes through it. They get so different as as a win or a result. One client of mine wanted to have a house in like a couple of years' time. At the end of the spiral, she has a house, brand new one. And so like things that you thought were not even possible or were really difficult, you just move through everything that's blocking you, let go of your limitations, and you just become a completely different person. I personally have gone through the process 3 times, and I'm going to go through it again next month because I'm obsessed with growth. And I just the changes and the shifts and the transformation that you go through is just massive. It just works every single time. I have people who are like in a job for the longest time, and now they've found the courage to quit their job to follow their purpose and their passion. I have a couple who's now writing their own books, and I'm like what the fuck? It's amazing. It's an amazing empowerment journey. So if you are interested to know more about that, you can read about it on my website. So it's just sarahsuyom.com, and just go to work with me, and you will find details there. Yeah.
Love it. Complete this sentence for me. Sarah Suyom is the human who.
Oh my God. Who is just like every other human in the world. There's no separation. There's no separation.
I expected.
Yeah, I have goosebumps. I don't see separation between Sarah and everyone that I encounter. I see my version of me in every person that I encounter.
That's super down to earth. All right, guys, if you really want to just freaking turbocharge your growth and make sure you're not repeating the same patterns and the same cycles because life is too short, make sure to check Sarah out. Everything she talked about will be linked down below: her ebook, her Facebook groups, and where you can find her to connect with her. All right.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast. slash
The noise
video.
all over the place, but I hope that they got something out of it. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks,
All right,
and
guys. Thank you, Sarah. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.